In the blazing wilderness, where the sun pressed down like judgment and the wind offered no mercy, a woman stumbled forward with trembling steps. Her name was Hagar. And before I even take you into her story, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt invisible? Have you ever walked through seasons where it seemed like the people you trusted turned against you, where you had nowhere to run and your heart whispered, "Who sees me? Who cares?" If so, this story is for you. Hagar's journey begins long before her feet ever touched desert sand, long before she cried in isolation, long before she whispered the name El Roy, the God who sees me. Before all of that, she was simply a servant girl, Egyptian by birth, taken from her homeland, carried into Abram and Sarai's household, not as family but as property, a possession, not a person. Her life was written by other people's hands. Her future wasn't hers to shape. God had promised Abram descendants as countless as stars scattered across the night sky. He told him, "Look up, count them if you can. So shall your offspring be." Genesis 15:5. But years passed, and Sarai, now Sarah, held no child. Her arms remained empty. Her prayers echoed back in silence. One night, worn and wounded from waiting, Sarai made a decision that would forever change the path of 3 lives. She turned to Abram and said, "The Lord has kept me from bearing children. Go sleep with my servant, maybe I can build a family through her." Genesis 16:2. Not a question, not a plea, a command. Hagar didn't get a vote in the matter. She had no authority to refuse. And so the servant girl became the vessel for a plan that wasn't hers. Everything shifted the moment she conceived. The air in the household grew thick with tension. Once invisible, Hagar now walked with her head lifted high. She was carrying the promise the son Abram had been waiting for. Sarai felt the shift. She felt despised, overshadowed, replaced by the very girl she had chosen to use, and her pain turned into fury. She stormed to Abram crying, "May the wrong done to me be upon you." Genesis 16:5. Abram, unwilling to interfere, answered, "She is your servant. Do with her as you see fit." Genesis 16:6. And that opened the gates to suffering. Sarai mistreated Hagar harshly, emotionally, physically, spiritually, until the girl could no longer endure it. She fled, pregnant and alone, running into a wilderness that cared nothing for her survival. Imagine it: burning heat, empty horizon, a woman carrying a child, carrying pain, carrying the weight of rejection. And yet she was not alone. At a spring of water on the road to Shur, where her strength finally collapsed, a presence approached her. Scripture tells us, "The angel of the Lord found her." Genesis 16:7. God himself went searching. Heaven stepped into the desert. "Hagar, servant of Sarai," the angel said, calling her by name, something no one else in Abram's household had done. "Where have you come from and where are you going?" Genesis 16:8. Can you imagine how her heart must have trembled? She expected judgment. She expected abandonment. But instead, she was seen. The angel continued, telling her to return to Sarai, but not empty-handed, not broken, not forgotten. "I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count." Genesis 16:10. "You will give birth to a son, and you shall call him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your affliction." Genesis 16:11. At that well, the well of survival, the well of divine interruption, Hagar's eyes filled with revelation. She whispered a name for God that appears nowhere else in Scripture: El Roy, the God who sees me. She said, "I have seen the one who sees me." Genesis 16:13. That well was named Bir Lahai Roy, the well of the living one who sees me. And from that moment on, Hagar was forever changed. She returned to Abram's camp carrying both a son and a promise. Ishmael was born, and Abram named him just as God instructed. Abram was 86 when Hagar brought his firstborn into the world. Genesis 16:15-16. For 13 years, Ishmael grew strong, wild, free, the son of the desert, beloved by his father, shaped by hardship and survival. But then God visited Abram again. At 99, God changed his name to Abraham and Sarai's to Sarah, promising that Sarah, yes, old, barren, warned Sarah would give birth to the child of covenant. Genesis 17:17-19. Ishmael would be blessed, but Isaac would be chosen. When Isaac was weaned, Sarah saw Ishmael mocking, and her anger rose like a storm. She demanded, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son. That boy will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." Genesis 21:10. The words struck Abraham's heart like a blade. Ishmael was his son, his firstborn, but God spoke gently to him. "Do not be distressed. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also." Genesis 21:12-13. And so Abraham released them. Early in the morning, with bread and water that could not possibly last, he placed provisions on Hagar's shoulders and sent her and Ishmael into the desert of Beersheba. Hagar wandered until the water ran out. Her strength failed. Her hope crumbled. She placed Ishmael under a bush and walked away, saying, "I cannot watch the boy die." Genesis 21:16. She sobbed. The wilderness swallowed her cries, but God heard the boy, and heaven responded. "Hagar, do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying. Lift him up, I will make him into a great nation." Genesis 21:17-18. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well. Not a mirage, not imagination, provision, deliverance, life. Ishmael grew up in the desert, becoming an archer, a son shaped by wilderness strength. Hagar found him a wife from Egypt. Genesis 21:20-21. From Ishmael came 12 rulers, just as God said. A nation, a legacy, a fulfillment of promises spoken beside a lonely well. Scripture doesn't record Hagar's death, but her life shouts a truth that echoes across generations. God sees those the world tries to erase. Her legacy isn't that she was a slave, it's that she was a survivor, a mother, a woman God pursued when no one else cared. And her story remains a mirror for anyone who has walked through abandonment, rejection, or wilderness seasons. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to Scripture Power Stories.